Test. C. Č.
Ask.
Thank you very much.
Who are we missing? Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome all of you to Bled Strategic Forum, expressing gratitude to the government of Slovenia. Minister of Foreign Affairs is here with us. Thank you very much, Miro. To the team of those working very hard, preparing yet another one and yet another brilliant Bled Strategic Forum. I'm grateful to all of those who are around me. Ministers of Foreign Affairs from the Western Balkans, 5 economies. There is an apology coming from Minister of Albania. Unfortunately, Vedran Džikić, a voice of the civil society, couldn't make it as well. There are others, by the way. I know there are several who wrote to me due to this heavy traffic. They were coming from Skopje, couldn't make it here, saying, what Europeisation if we cannot in one day drive from Skopje to Ljubljana, to Bled, because of this heavy traffic. But that was September 1. Everyone was coming back from the holidays, so I'm very sorry they couldn't join us. We are not having a voice of the youth, but still, we have an excellent panel, and I would like to express my gratitude also to the CEI, Central European Initiative, for hosting us today as well. Please allow me to invite Minister of Foreign Affairs of Finland, also in his capacity as President of the EU, to share with us a few keynote remarks, particularly after the big meeting and everything we've heard officially and unofficially, what was happening there. Also, in the eve of the formation of the new Commission, new Parliament, huge expectations we are going to discuss here. What you're going to tell us is coming from Finland and from the EU. Please take the floor. Thank you, Mr. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me thank our hosts, Slovenian government and Minister, for this excellent Bled Forum and the opportunity to discuss in such a short time so many important topics. And I think one of the most important discussions is now going to begin on Western Balkans. And let me also thank all my colleagues here for coming to Helsinki some days ago, because we started part of the Western Balkans debate there. The Finnish position as the presidency is that there is happening also other issues than Brexit in this world. And one important issue that is happening is, of course, the enlargement process that should continue, and we should have a new applicant countries joining the process. I'm particularly referring to North Macedonia and Albania. And we certainly would hear today more about their positions and their views on that. From our perspective, Western Balkans lies in the heart of Europe. It's not actually expanding the Europe, it's making the Europe together, because Western Balkans is surrounded by existing EU member states, and it's very important that we get the full cooperation with all these countries, and that their role is also recognized as part of Europe. I had, in my capacity of working for United Nations Environmental Programme many years ago, looking at the environmental consequences of the Kosovo War, digging all remnants, war remnants, first in Kosovo and then in Serbia, Montenegro, Presevo Valley, on the side where they had the refugee flows and so forth. It was, of course, a very sad event in this part of the world, and I can see how much has been built on cooperation and mutual understanding in the Western Balkans. Particularly when talking to the youth of these countries, I had an opportunity 1 year ago to travel throughout the Western Balkans, meeting a lot of young people, and what huge expectations they had for the European cooperation, for integration, being part of Europe. The identity was definitely a European, and I think we owe to these young people a better cooperation also between the EU and the countries, also better regional cooperation in the Western Balkans. If I'm taking just a couple of points which I think are very important today, of course, the issue of young people, youth, employment issues, creating jobs, creating education for these young people also in the Western Balkans, but also tackling the climate change issue, which is one of the leading topics of our presidency and also in our government program. I think every country can play their role, and we need a lot of cooperation on environmental and climate issue also around the Western Balkans. And then let me, Mr. Chair, make my final comment on some of the principles of European Union, namely the rule of law, anti-corruption issues, freedom of press, freedom of movement for people, and so forth. I think European Union is based on common values, and it's very important that we respect those values inside European Union, but also that when dealing with the applicant countries and with the wider region of Europe, we pay full respect to these values and show these values in our everyday life. Actually, when having our meeting in Helsinki, our last moment was sitting with the human rights defenders all around the world, I would say, some of them from European Union, some from other parts of the world, and it was a good reminder that we have those common values, values that Europe represents and values that we have to take care of also in our future work. With these words and rushing very soon to the plane, I want to thank one more time organizers for this event and wish all well my colleagues from the Western Balkans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Look, I'm used to commenting on the EU. I did it passionately for many years, and always requesting, pushing very hard, give us more, give us the date, give us this, open this and that chapter. And then, as you would remember, in one of the previous Bled Strategic Forum gatherings, there were voices from the civic society claiming here, complaining, stabilocracy versus democracy, attacking the EU, Commission as well, saying, what is this? Why you let these guys go further, although they're not delivering? But then, again, I have to say it looks like we do not necessarily have a stability anymore. There is a lot happening in each and every economy represented at this table, including in others which are not here. So we cannot even claim that we have achieved full stability. Therefore, now I have to be a big traitor and say maybe the EU was right in claiming fundamentals first. And Mr. Minister was just mentioning rule of law, freedom of media, democracy and human rights. And we were honored here to have High Commissioner for Human Rights presenting in Bled. Therefore, perhaps we need to find a balance between dealing with the big issues and steadily continuing our negotiations, our drive towards the EU membership. Mentioning the EU, I'd like to turn to Americans. Matt Palmer is here, and his predecessors were coming here always, and I respect that you do respect in Washington Bled Strategic Forum constantly. But I have a simple question for you. What is this new title, Matt Palmer, Special Representative, brings to us? Will you please explain what does it mean? What is this signaling to Brussels as well and to the region? Please, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much for that, Goran. Thanks again for the opportunity, and thank you to the organizers of the Bled Strategic Forum. This is a tremendous opportunity to bring people together who are focused and engaged in this part of the world to work on a shared set of goals and objectives. I think, Goran, that the answer to that question would be that what the United States has done, what the Department of State has done in appointing a special representative for the Western Balkans, is to demonstrate responsiveness to the demand signal. We've heard from the region, we've heard from our European partners and allies regularly that the United States was not sufficiently committed to the Western Balkans, not sufficiently present, not sufficiently engaged. And so the goal and objective that I have in this role is to be present, is to be in the region, is to be traveling around Europe, working with allies and partners on our shared set of goals. And that includes addressing some of these fundamentals that our Finnish colleague was talking about: rule of law, media freedom, transparency, good governance, accountability, but also competing for positive influence and using that influence in support of the broader goal of integrating the Western Balkans into European and Euro-Atlantic institutions. That remains fundamental to U.S. interests. It remains fundamental to U.S. strategic engagement in the region. I'm going to be there in support of this effort, working with colleagues, friends, partners, many of whom are up here on the dais with us right now. A couple of big targets, helping North Macedonia and Albania secure the opening of accession negotiations with the European Union, ideally in October. Helping Serbia and Kosovo get back to the dialogue table, reach an agreement on the full comprehensive normalization of their relationship, and open up a European path for both Serbia and for Kosovo. And working with Bosnia-Herzegovina, the authorities at the state level, at the entity level, at the cantonal and the municipal levels in support of deep reforms, functionality, and a commitment to a European future for all the people of Bosnia-Herzegovina. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. We'll come back to you. I will come back to you, but perhaps we should hear from the ministers and Melinda as well. But we'll come back to you because you mentioned a combination of fundamentals and outstanding issues. We would expect somehow more of engagement when it comes to outstanding issues. But I highly respect that you've also added rule of law and judiciary and democracy. Therefore, speaking of outstanding issues, I'd like to turn to Ivica. Ivica, šta očekuješ od ovog čovjeka? What do you expect from this man? How do you read the appointment of Matt Palmer as special representative? And are you ready to deliver?
Misliš na Pacolija ili na Palmera?
No, I'm going to ask the same question for Budget.
Do you have in mind Pacoli or Palmer?
Yes. Pa ja pre svega da vam se obratim da sam živ.
First of all, in addressing you, I would like to tell you that I'm still alive.
Pošto me udario grom noćas dok sam dolazio ovde.
Since last evening on the way to Bled, our plane was struck by a thunder.
Trenutno se utvrđuje da li je slovenački ili hrvatski.
And we are now trying to determine whether the thunder came from Croats or from the Slovenes, from Slovenia or Croatia.
Slovenci kažu nema šansi da je slovenački.
The Slovenians claim that there's no chance of it being from Slovenia.
Što se tiče Matthewa, ja ga poznajem dugi niz godina.
As for Matthew, I have known this person for many years now.
I ne očekujem ništa od njega.
And there's nothing that I expect from him.
Očekujem mnogo od njegove žene.
I expect a lot from his wife.
Koja je naša?
Who comes from Serbia?
Ma ne znam da li iz Srbije, ali iz našeg regiona.
She's from our region. Maybe she's not from Serbia, but she's from our region.
A u našem regionu se kaže odakle ti je žena, odakle si i ti.
Yeah, but with us there is this saying that you come from the place where your wife actually comes from.
Tako da u svakom slučaju, a i vi Slovenci imate tako direktnu vezu do predsjednika SAD.
And in any case, you, the Slovenes, have the direct connection to the President of the United States, so to say.
U svakom slučaju, ovo je pokazatelj da Sjedinjene Američke Države žele da budu jasnije prisutne u našem regionu.
This is an indicator that the United States seek to be more present, more clearly present in our region.
I sigurno da će imati dosta posla.
And I'm sure that they will have a lot of work ahead.
Neće mu biti lako.
This is not going to be an easy task for him.
Ali nije ni nama lako sa njima.
But we are also not having it very easy with them either.
U svakom slučaju pozdravljam ga i želim mu puno uspeha.
In any case, I would like to greet him on this occasion and wish him a lot of success.
Ivica, ain't gonna leave you this easy. Ivica, neću te pustim ovako lako. Do you expect completion during his term in office, so to say? Completion of the big issues. Da li očekuješ dogovor za vreme njegovog mandata?
Did I mention this was a 20-year term?
You didn't make me happy, I'll tell you.
Slušaj, ja sam tako rekao da moj mandat treba da bude zbog važnosti te teme dok ne uđemo u Evropsku uniju.
Yes, this is the same what I said, that my mandate actually should extend to the date when we enter the European Union.
To je negde između 5 i ne znam koliko godina.
And then we're speaking about 5 to I don't know how many years in the future.
Tako da njegov mandat treba da bude dok se ne reši odnos između Beograda i Prištine.
So his mandate actually should last until the relationship between Belgrade and Pristina is resolved.
Ali generalno, mislim da, mi smo pričali danas o tome, on i ja smo imali sastanak, malo smo analizirali tu situaciju, izbori na Kosovu, tranzicija vezano za Mogherini i Borrell, izbori u Srbiji.
Yeah, Mr. Palmer and I had a bilateral meeting earlier today, and we discussed the elections in Kosovo, the transition to Mr. Borrell from Mogherini.
Zatim izbori u Srbiji.
The elections in Serbia as well.
Tako da taj dijalog očekujemo da se stvore uslovi da se dijalog nastavi posle formiranja vlade u Prištini, posle povlačenja određenih poteza, a naravno to će u mnogome zavisiti od te tranzicije, odnosno od toga kako će se postaviti novi visoki predstavnik i kako će modelirati taj dijalog između Beograda i Prištine. U svakom slučaju mi smo spremni da brzo dejstvujemo i da budemo konstruktivni.
I will try to repeat all of that. In any case, we expect that once the elections in Kosovo are completed, that the dialogue will be resumed once the other conditions as well are, take place. And we also expect the transition within the European Union, and these are all the things that we should look to.
A mi imamo ovde i moderatora.
And not only that, here with us we also have a moderator.
Following the way you were considering, I will turn to Bejet and say that if you use the pattern developed by Ivica, then you can claim that here at least yourself, myself, used to live in the same building, not only that we've been born there, Ivica was also born there, so we are many. Therefore, if you expect, following this pattern that Ivica presented relating to Matt and his wife, well, we are many coming from the same area, so 2 of us at least from the same building. But Bejet, same question for you as I've asked Ivica, so I keep you equal. As you see, what do you expect? How do you read engagement?
May I say everything what I have in mind about Ivica? Or
about Matt and his appointment.
Okay, thank you, Goran. Thank you very much. Excellencies, dear colleagues, allow me to thank our host, first of all, for the invitation and this very warm hospitality here in Bled, but most of all, for persisting that indicate the only way forward is fulfilling objectives. Responsibility shared by Western Balkans and European Union in one hand, and on the other hand, a shared responsibility among the countries of the Western Balkans to help each other in efforts to keep alive the aspiration of Western Balkans countries from integration into Euro-Atlantic family. For the first 2 keywords of this panel, Europeisation and Democratisation, our illustrative of the goalpost we have set to ourselves as aspiring future member of the European Union and NATO. But it is the shared responsibility. I fully agree that the responsibility is largely on the shoulder of the region. It is obviously and logical to expect the aspirants to their best in ensuring progress of their respective societies, to advance the well-being of citizens and to foster constructive relation with the neighbors. The latter as a reinforcement of our more or less similar goals in joining Euro-Atlantic family. Yet I must add the Europeanization and in particular particularly integration into the European Union, is nurtured via tangible encouragement along the way. When our political elites in the Western Balkans fail to deliver, there is a not big surprise. But when the European Union does not keep its part of deal, the possibilities are practically zero for Europeanization and integration. Let us take the issue of visa liberalization, for example, for Kosovo. Kosovo still remains the only place in Europe deprived of the opportunity for its businessmen, students, academics, artists, normal people, potential tourists, relatives, etc., to travel into Schengen area without time consumption, expensive and very often futile and degrading procedures. These in spite of having fulfilled all requirements. I emphasize this element at the most tangible segment of Europeanization for our citizens. So when the European Union fails to provide clear perspective for integration or to even deliver on very specific promises once all the requirements are fulfilled, the burden on our shoulders becomes heavier. I believe that the European Union has a lot to offer. Well-informed insider described the tools available to European Union in contrast to famous President Roosevelt's speak softly and carry a big stick. Or Robert Cooper used to say, speak softly and carry a big carrot. Yet, when it does not speak softly and brings no carrots at all, it is very difficult to keep alive the abstract idea of Europeanization. Another point of view on the shared responsibility is the attitude of countries, candidate countries, aspirants one, neighbors. Our host, for example, as well as Croatia, both members of EU and NATO, are doing a great job, great service to the rest of us when they provide encouragement, share expertise, but also serve as a sort of spokesperson for us. Thank you to Slovenia. Thank you to Croatia. Of the region within the European Union, you were always there in the difficult time and in good time. The attitude of the rest candidate countries and aspirants is still far from what could be labeled as a constructive. We still have representatives of countries who put a European face when visiting Brussels, but engaged heavily in activities that have nothing in common with European values and Europeanization. You cannot actively undermine a reality and the neighbors. Fight the existence of a country, fight the existence of an entire people, systematically offend survivors of genocide, disparaging rule of International Court of Justice, etc., etc. For that, people, let's work together, let's deal together, let's make things, great things for a peace together, because we need the peace. It's only way, only door which is there ready to be open is door of peace. Serbia and Kosovo need peace immediately. And I have to thank everybody who has contributed to this process. Goran, You have done great things for us in the region. Thank you, my dear friend. And thank you to my colleagues sitting here. Thank you to Mr. Palmer also. We are very hopeful that you will do a great job with us. You know, we have a little syndrome in Balkans. We need someone who can talk a little bit loud with us. Thank you to everybody. And you have to know that Kosovo is there. Kosovo like peace. Kosovo like Europe. And Kosovo is ready for a new startup. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bejet. Thank you very much for kind words. Thank you very much for the kind words extended to everyone. Personally, I'm grateful, but let's stick to the carrot rather than anything else. I would like to deepen our consideration on the notion of solidarity being discussed in the EU. Therefore, Ivica, will you publicly support what Bejet has said on visas and the need for these people living there to travel, as we are all traveling within the EU? And second, are you ready to positively engage when it comes to also issues related to Kosovars traveling to Bosnia and Herzegovina and vice versa?
Šta si se na mene navrzao sada?
Podrži čoveka.
Vidite, nije to uvek dobro imati svog čoveka ovde za moderatora.
It's not always good to have a moderator, someone coming from your region.
Šalim se, naravno. Ja sam to već više puta javno rekao.
This is only a joke. This is something, the question that you posed to me, this is something that I have repeatedly stated in the past.
Da Srbija podržava i viznu liberalizaciju za Kosovo.
That Serbia supports a visa liberalization for Kosovo.
Ali da podržavamo isto i otvaranje pregovora za Severnu Makedoniju i Albaniju.
But that we also support the start of negotiations for Northern Macedonia and Albania.
I da inače smatram da nam je potrebno malo više solidarnosti ovde nas koji smo okupljeni unutar te reči koje su sad izmislili Zapadni Balkan.
And I feel that all of us within the region of the Western Balkans, which is a term recently invented, something that all of us in the Western Balkans need is more solidarity.
A i vi ste se ovde u ovolikom broju skupili verovatno zato što mislite da ćemo mi ovde da se svađamo nešto.
And I gather that all of you gathered here today in such a big number, believing that we are going to quarrel here today.
A mi to često volimo da radimo.
Although we do like to do that often.
I da ogovaramo jedni i druge kod Evropljana.
And we also like to gossip about each other with the European people.
Ja moram da vam kažem, to sam rekao i u Helsinkiju sad.
And I have to say, and I've said this in Helsinki only recently.
Kakvi god da smo.
No matter what or who we are.
Mi smo braća.
We are brethren.
I sigurno da mi je svako od ovih koji sedi ovde draži nego neko iz Finske, Litvanije ili iz nekoga i tako dalje.
And I have to say that all of the people sitting here close to me are dearer to my heart than maybe people from Finland or any other country.
A vama?
What about
you? A vama jel draži, smo mi dragi ili su vam draži neki drugi?
What about you? Do you hold us dear to your hearts or maybe you hold someone else dear?
Ovde kad sam došao, kaže, krem šnite su, kaže, ovde glavne na Bledu.
When I came here first, they showed me the dessert, I don't know, krem šnite, that they say that this is the major delicacy here.
I onda sam ustanovio da je to jedan Srbin dao recept.
And then I was told, actually it was established that it was a guy from Serbia that came up with the recipe here.
Je tako, Miro?
Is that Miran, is that true?
Sinoć su mi pričali to.
This is what I've been told yesterday in the evening.
Here I need to second Ivica. This is what I was told by the mayor. So Ivica is not inventing. I can testify this is what we have learned by the mayor of Bled, that Blejska razina was at least partially invented also by someone who is of our heritage. Peter, I would like to turn to you. In a way with a similar question. You were with these guys in Helsinki. Thank you very much for all of your support. You are voicing your position, including very recently you've been very critical, commenting on your colleagues, fellow foreign ministers. But I'm not asking about this. What I'm asking is, well, I naively believe that appointment of Matthew Palmer as a special envoy for the Balkans is also kind of a signal, a hint to the formation of the new Commission, the European Commission, as a kind of a signal, guys, maybe you should consider also signaling a readiness to more decisively engage. What do you say? Am I wrong?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks, Miro, to be invited. Thank you very much, Goran, to moderate this panel. You know that Hungary is a pro-enlargement country. You know that we are in favor of the acceleration of the accession procedures of both Montenegro and Serbia. You know that we are in favor of the accession talks to be launched for North Macedonia and Albania. But in the meantime, you have to know that this position represented by us is currently in minority within the European Union. There's a big bunch of hypocrisy around this issue. Because whenever you ask any colleague of mine coming from any EU member state, dear XY, you would support the enlargement of Europe? Of course, it's very important. We have to support enlargement of the European Union. And when we come together, and when we have the chance to make decisions, when we have the chance to accelerate the accession procedures, then these decisions have never been made. We think that the Commission, which is now just about to step down, made a huge mistake and failed in many issues, of course, but especially on enlargement. Because maybe this is not the most sophisticated sentence ever you hear from a foreign minister, but we think that the more we are, the stronger we are. And we don't really see what kind of legal obstacle there is, why we have not opened all the negotiation chapters with the Serbs yet, why we have not opened the last negotiation chapter with the Montenegrins yet. And my colleagues have admitted that there is no legal obstacle. So then what kind of obstacle is there? This is the political obstacle, because simply they don't want the European Union to be enlarged, regardless of what they say. When we come together, we foreign ministers of the European Union, and we speak about the Western Balkans, you know what is the general atmosphere? Our Western European friends usually cry about the fact that there are other players of global politics, including the United States and others, who would like to put their influence on this region. And I usually ask them, okay, I understand that, but why don't we enter this race? Because it would be the easiest for us to be the most successful in this race. Because what should we do? We should say, Montenegrins, come on, please open the last negotiation chapter. Serbs, please come on, open all the chapters. Why not? And you know, when President Juncker said that there will be no enlargement before 2025, this is not the most enthusiastic sentence you would ever hear about the enlargement policy, right? So what would encourage our friends of the Western Balkans if it is said that there's, regardless what you do, there's no enlargement until 2025? We are heavily against this general approach of the Commission. We are heavily against the hypocritical approach of the Western European countries regarding enlargement, and we really do believe that one of the ways to make EU stronger in the future is to increase the number of the member states. Because so far, whenever there was a change regarding the number of the member states of the European Union, that was an increase. And this year, most likely, when there's going to be a change in the number of the member states, it's going to be a decrease because of Brexit. And this is something that we don't like. This is something that we would like to revert and come back to the good old tradition. So whenever there's a change in the number of the member states, let's have it as an increase. And believe me that we who are living in the neighborhood of this region, we do know that the enlargement is not only the interest of the countries coming from the Western Balkans. This is the interest of ours. This is the interest of the Europeans when it comes to politics, when it comes to strategy, when it comes to economy, when it comes to security. And without enlargement, the European Union cannot be made strong again. Now the problem is that when you speak about that, everybody agrees publicly. And then when we come together, 28 of us, we speak about that, then I belong to the minority to speak about that openly.
Better. As the next one. As the next one is going to be Srđa, I'd like to ask you, Peter, I mean, they are the leaders in the process of negotiation. Obviously, they've done the huge number of chapters. How realistic is 2025 today? For anybody.
Okay, I have to tell you that a lot depends on the composition of the new commission. If finally a person who is in favor of enlargement will be the commissioner for enlargement, then we have a good chance.
Will there be a commission for enlargement?
I hope so. I hope so. Let's put it this way, not to go too far. I hope so. I would have some good suggestions in the meantime, of course. But a lot depends on the position of the big Western European member states, because we have to speak about this openly. When we came together for the General Affairs Council a couple of months ago to negotiate about whether accession talks will be launched with North Macedonia and Albania, then there were countries clearly saying behind closed doors, no. And those were not the Central Europeans, those were not the Visegrad countries, those were not the Slovenes, those were not the Baltics, those were the old, let's say, strong Western European members saying no, for different reasons. Of course, in front of public, they would phrase it in a less understandable way, not saying no, but if we understand what they say, we understand they say no. But I really do think, and I'm sorry for that, Srđan, because you represent a wonderful country, but we usually call it as a low-hanging fruit. Because if the European Union wanted to make a success story, then let's let the Montenegrins join. 600,000 people. They all pay with euro. What kind of problems they could create to the European Union? Nothing. Let's have it as a success story. And I told the Finnish foreign minister today as we had the bilateral meeting, if he wants a success story for the Finnish presidency, let's open the last negotiating chapter. And in the meantime, I have negotiations very frequently with the Serbs. You know, I know them. And I really hate when I really hate when some European Union member states would like to lecture the Serbs about the minority issues. I can tell you, as a country which has where the border of nation and the border of the country does not coincide, that we have a lot of Hungarians in the neighboring countries, and not even the EU member states treat the Hungarian minority as the Serbs do, and not even the EU member states give that many rights and that fair treatment to the Hungarians than the Serbs do. So they should not be lectured, they should be let come in to the European Union, because, and this is my last sentence, from pragmatic perspective, these guys here on the stage, and the governments represented by these guys, they make enormous efforts to keep the pro-European and pro-Euro-Atlantic position or atmosphere of their public, which is, believe me, this is not natural in this region of the world. But they do enormous efforts to do so. But if they don't get positive feedback, after a while, there will be questioned by their own public. So why are you doing that? You don't get positive feedback, why you make so many efforts, why you make so many compromises. We should avoid that. And we should help these governments sitting on the stage, because they are pro-European, pro-Euro-Atlantic. And to be honest, from the perspective of European interest, I don't really understand why European Union and why European Commission has not made that in the past. We have a hope in the new Commission, and I really do hope that this approach will be changed. You can count on us for sure.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much. I'd like to turn to Srđa, as I promised.
Sijarto za predsjednika. Komisije.
Srđa, I've mentioned solidarity. Look, I'll be very open. As a Serb, I feel very bad that neither Albania nor North Macedonia have got the date added during the Sofia summit, frankly. I'm selfish. A reason why I'm so in favor is that I believe this will be the real incentive for my president to go for the deal, and also for his partners in Pristina. This message was not an incentive. I mean, the guys have changed the constitution. A bold thing. And they haven't got a date. How do you see in Montenegro the fact that they haven't got the date? I mean, you can say, well, Montenegro is advancing, but, well, this is, in a way, putting too much of a gap between you and the others in the region. Srđa.
if I'm a sportsman, I would say, yes, it's good we are advancing, and the others are, but it's not, this is not a sport. This is a serious business. So we don't like at all the situation where our friends and neighbors from the region, North Macedonia and Albania, have not yet got the accession talks opportunity. We are clearly the front runner in the process. That's fine. And we even maybe hope to be the first one to become member. But we very, very well know that only the success story of the Western Balkans will happen if all of us will be there. In the EU and in NATO for those who want it. As far as I know, vast majority wants it. So I hope that mistake is not going to be repeated in October, these two countries not to be invited. What Northern Macedonians can do else? They changed the name of the country. They risked almost everything, and they won. Who of the Western European politicians would risk to change the name of the country and politically survive? It was only thanks to the courage and vision of the governments in Skopje and Athens. Both governments risked it all. Tsipras already paid the price. Probably he didn't say the last word in politics, but this time he paid the price. The government in Skopje had to work hard to find its way. Neither Northern Macedonia or Albania or any of us, we are not Scandinavian democracies, and will not be for a long time ahead of us. But for example, in Tirana, they actually undertook a serious vetting process over their judiciary, to the extent that the judiciary now is crippled as a result of that process. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe it's not enough, but it's a serious try. So we believe that these two countries should be given a chance in October. I am not the advocate of decoupling. I want all of us to move forward. But this 2019, it was one of the reasons why I want to see them starting the accession talks, has not been the best year of the enlargement. Someone might say it was because of us, because we did not deliver properly, or we have not delivered enough. But I am not sure that this particular year has been especially worse than other years regarding the Western Balkans. We had our flaws, we had our ups and downs. But this year, Montenegro, after 7 years of negotiations, has not yet opened any chapter, the very last one. For the first time, Serbia has not opened 2, but only 1 chapter this year. Northern Macedonia and Albania have not been invited to join. We can understand that some serious issues in the European Union, like Brexit, like elections inside the Union, like restructuring of the Union, like the rise of the populist parties in some countries. These issues are very serious ones. But we expect EU to know what to do in the Western Balkans. If the direction in the EU is we want to embrace Western Balkans, we want to finalize the job, we want the very part of Europe finally to be the one. It is if we have that approach, it will find a way. 2025 was mentioned, but if we continue to open and close chapters to this pace, it will not be 2025, but 2035 or 2045.
Thank you, Sergio. In a way, I was hinting that it is about us, that we were kind of in a messy situation if we go from one to another economy. What Sergio has said is it's also about them. The EU, they could have done more there is a slowing of a pace. I'm turning to you, Melinda. First of all, I'd like to pay respect as you are a prominent, or at least until recently, were a prominent Albanian politician. You were a minister, a member of the parliament. Therefore, I'd like to ask you one question. How do you feel as Albanian that Albania hasn't got the date? Well, then the second question as well is, do you trust these guys and their leaders? Because they've committed themselves when it comes to regional economic area. You've delivered with your team. You've prepared everything also on diplomas, not only on the roaming, which was a big success, but also on certifications. And due to political issues in the region, they were not ready to sign something you've done, trusting their leaders and the readiness of the administration. So I'm asking you two different things. One, try to step in the shoes of the minister who is not here, Ghent, unfortunately, couldn't make it, and personally comment how you feel about this. And then I'd like also to hear about the work you've done and has not been completed in Poland because of other issues, not because of the RCC. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Goran. If you don't mind, I will start from the second question. And definitely that work is not done by me, so I'm following what you were doing previously. And I was just looking forward that we might be enough successful on that, but as you know, everything in the region boils down to politics. And time after time, I feel that we are mired in gloom. So whenever we try to move one step forward, then something happens immediately, and the bilateral issues are spilling over the whole region and the regional cooperation. Well, you mentioned Poznan, and Poznan is only the last meeting, let's say the big one, the summit of leaders. I would have expected, and I wished a lot, to have a successful story in Poznan in all the areas out of the regional economic area. But frankly, we couldn't. We might be hell-bent, you know, but it's quite impossible if the economies themselves will not be eager to deliver on that. So for the audience, just to brief you very shortly, more than 2 years ago, the regional economic area came as an idea to bring together the economies of the region and to speed up the cooperation, and just thinking that there is a reason why regions are coming together in the world, and it is because the Western Balkans, all in all, are small economies divided. And all in all, we are only 18 million people. And that regional economic area is based on 4 pillars. We succeeded with the digital one, and that is a sign that when the political commitment is in force in the region, things could really move on. We didn't succeed with the mobility pillar, which is recognizing professions and academic qualifications for the people in the region. In order to find a job, if not able to find it in Tirana for an architect, they could find it in Belgrade, or if not in Belgrade, in Podgorica, and so on. But at the very end of the day, there is a bigger question, and you were just voicing our thoughts, since you are one of the RCCs as well. So it's on that facilitation agreement of free movement between economies in the region. At the very end, I was thinking, okay, even if we had this mobility pillar approved, what is the sense if for a Kosovar it's not possible to travel to Bosnia-Herzegovina? He will need a visa. Then what is the sense if only during the last year the number of visas that were refused to Kosovars exceeded the numbers of visas issued? And I'm speaking on the region, not on the visa liberalization with the EU. So at the very end, maybe RIA was really a nice framework, but we should really think that that is limited. At the very end, it needs to be enhanced with the political element. It's not a technical process. Regional cooperation is not a technical process. It's based on the political willingness of governments, who are the first ones to make use of the regional cooperation, but citizens as well, who are supporting the process of regional cooperation more than the governments. And I'm pretty sure, Goran, that you've read the latest Balkan barometer data. So the citizens in the region, 74% of them support regional cooperation. They think that it's going to work faster in improving their lives than the EU membership, while they support the European membership, 56%. So there is a huge gap in between, and people trust that it's going to work better with their neighbors. But to make it happen, definitely, we need all to embark on the same vision. Secondly, regarding the process of opening the negotiations. Well, frankly, I was just enjoying the view from here of this panel. So it's usually one of the rarest times that I could really like to be in the margins. But being in the margins with US, it means that you are all safe. What I could not really like is to have that enlargement debate in the margins of European future. And I would plea everybody, every scholar, somebody who could really be smarter than myself, or with due respect of gentlemen in here, to find a new word in naming that process. EU will not be enlarged with Western Balkans, will be completed with Western Balkans. Without Western Balkans, it's always going to be an unfinished business. And if in EU they will not get it right, then I'm afraid that the stagnation and the postponement of opening the negotiations with Albania and North Macedonia, plus continuing with opening the chapters with Serbia and Montenegro, plus granting the candidate status to Bosnia and Herzegovina, that, in a short word, is going to be a risk. And being a firm believer of the European project, as I am, I have to say that nobody has the luxury to lose time anymore. The region has already lost a lot of time due to sufferings due to the war. Yesterday, so 2 days ago, the 80 years of the Second World War was commemorated. But this is the 20th year after the Stability Pact. And then, yes, Western Balkans have a different perspective. We are living in peace. But in terms of real development, it's not there. People are leaving the region. 1/3 of the population of the Western Balkans left their homes in the last 5 years. And 1/3 is 5.7 million people who left their homes. And they are going somewhere else. So these are the real problems in the region. And if we don't really get the feeling that it's up to us to change it, to transform our societies, and at the EU side as well, to think that this is a ringing bell that won't last forever, then I think that we are really going to be not only losing time, but we're really going to lose a big chance for you to be completed. Finally, as an Albanian, I wouldn't really like to speak on behalf of the Minister of Albania. But I've been a minister for EU for more than 7 years in Albania. And then I was in Parliament. So I think that for more than 13 years, nobody could really have an affair as I'm having within you. So it's such a long one. And I really can find it hard to keep that narrative alive in our region. To keep that torch on in the darkness is going to be harder and harder. And again, I have to say, this is not a technocratic process. This is a political decision. You have to be bold for that. Otherwise, we are nowhere.
Thank you very much, Melinda. Peter was also saying these things. Peter was also clearly saying it is a political process with a lot of technical issues. But I'd like to continue on what you were saying, Melinda, while asking Nicola. Nicola, look, I know several of your team who was ready in 2005, who were ready in 2009, and some of them are the brain of the RCC, Maya 1, Maya 2, Orhan in Belgrade. What about the capacity? Also explain what you've lost in the process. People who were ready to deliver at a certain point in time, and who are in the meantime gone. And now you're restarting, both politically, and you've done a great job, and I congratulate you, but also technically. You're losing people who should be able to deliver on accession.
Thank you. Goran, I have to start by, because I was touched and I liked it, praising Miro's, Minister Cerar's passionate plea for enlargement in his opening speech yesterday in the other bigger hall. And I love this B that stands for Bled, but also for the Balkans and for being bold. And I think Slovenia, the diplomacy, I'm very grateful there is an exceptional consistency in the support of the European future of the region. And coming from Slovenia, that's credible because you know the region and because you yourself have made a very successful adventure in terms of your own accession. Slovenia today is seen in the eyes of the most skeptical member states as a country that is truly European. So this is the kind of support that we appreciate and like. What did we lose? We lost a generation. The babies that were born when we signed the Association and Stabilization Agreement are turning 18 this year, adulthood. 14 years as a candidate country. And I went to the Netherlands in 2009. The first positive Commission report, at that time, Republic of Macedonia, now North Macedonia, is ready to start accession talks. 2009, 10 years after, we are still not in the talks. We have 10 consecutive, they are ready by the Commission. You don't trust the Commission, member states. Do something about it. Turn to the State Department Human Rights Report. This year it's extremely positive on the Macedonian file. Increased media freedom. Important. How do you hold politicians account if the citizens do not know? Media should be free. So, Reporters Beyond Borders jumps. The Democracy Index of The Economist. We are in a very small group of countries that made improvement on our democratic performance. Now, because of the Prespa agreement, this is somewhat overshadowed. But we have done an obvious U-turn. We are not perfect. Do we still make mistakes? Yes. Is it clear that we are moving towards a proper European democracy? Yes. This is not where we were 3 years ago. And partly, we lost our moral compass. I'm not blaming opposition, this and that. We as a nation, being locked in this waiting room for so many years over the name issue. Now we resolve the name issue, doing something very European in a region, a compromise. In a region that finds it very difficult to compromise. In a region that is so deeply entrenched in historical disputes. But we live today, and we can't change history. And while we discuss historical disputes, our youngsters are leaving. So we need to make sure that they have Europe here, not to search for it in Germany, Italy, and Denmark and elsewhere. So this is what we are trying to do, as a generation even, beyond politics, parties, government, opposition. Capacity, I hope to get some of these people back. I myself was abroad.
Oh, they will never leave me for you, Nicola.
Well, we'll see. No. We'll negotiate. I'm a good negotiator. We will negotiate.
Himself is back, therefore.
So I think I like the completion. I think this is obvious. We are an island that is gray, and the blueness around us is the EU. They will be better off if we turn blue as well. Stronger institutions, and hopefully we export goods and services and not people to their countries.
Nicola, stronger institutions. Melinda was quoting Balkan Barometer. You know, she was kind, didn't want to mention, but do you know what is the result when it comes to the trust of our citizens into judiciary? 75 to 85 plus.
Parliaments plus governments.
But judiciary in particularly. They are simply sending us a message they don't trust the judiciary and that they believe that judiciary is politically manipulated. That's basically the message. That's bad. So we need to do more as well. Sorry.
So I think we have a huge opportunity this year. And 2019 is a year where we in Europe don't have plenty of opportunities to succeed. We have challenges. Brexit is probably the biggest one. We have challenges in the internal functioning. We have challenges in the European narrative, which is probably the most precious that we have. What does Europe mean? Normalcy, decency, justice, equal opportunities, freedom, human rights. There are issues there. There are challenges there. But I think what we have achieved, far from perfect, is such an obvious opportunity that if Europe fails on us this year, there is no European perspective anymore. I can't go back to the people and say, next year we're going to make it. 10 reports. The message will be, don't bother resolving difficult problems. And on the Prespa agreement, because for Western Europeans it's difficult to understand, this was not only, the problem was the identity. And identity plays a big role in today's Western European politics as well. And it was, we can't accept a geographic adjective if we don't have a way to maintain that we are Macedonians who speak the Macedonian language, that is a South Slavic language. And this is what we did. We enabled the two Macedonian identities, the Greek one that is different and ours, to coexist and not confront each other. Europe was created with a compromise. French-German reconciliation and economic marriage first with steel and coal. And we have Greece, an opponent. We lost a generation because of this dispute. And we have now a supporter in our steps and getting closer that create de facto solidarity. This is what Schuman said, how Europe will be created. I can't believe that any country, including Germany and France, will fail to see how European this is and invest in this. Another point on the region, I like your approach to somehow incite regional solidarity. Is it enough if we continue to move forward as a nation and the region still struggles? Probably not. The ills of the region are regional. Borders don't really exist when it comes to organized crime and corruption. So, peering this together, we have a big stake in the success of our neighbors. And I think it's time. I like when I disagree with the Americans. And Matt said his term will be 20 years. I don't think we have that luxury. Joking, of course, because you were also joking, I guess.
God, I hope so.
We need to...
I want to clarify this. Matt was referring on his job as the one who is heading the Southeast Europe, Eurasia in the State Department. That is life job. But the appointment, which is special representative for the Balkans, is limited.
We don't have time. The world is unpredictable. Europe is busy. We in the Balkans must get our act together, because while we discuss historical disputes, only the retired people will stay in our countries. We need to get our act together, face problems, be bold, and become European. And I have a slight mention. I love and adore the group of pro-enlargement countries. But I think we make mistakes when we talk about opening and closing chapters. If we join today, North Macedonia will still be the same country. We need to make it European. And in order to convince the Dutch and the Bundestag and the Chancellery and the French and others, it's a mistake to lower the bar. They need to be strict with us, but they need to be fair. And when we deliver, they should deliver. Otherwise, the trouble will come to them. It's either export stability and rule of law or import stability and trouble. And they need to be brave enough with their voters, as they are asking from us to be brave enough with our voters here.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Thank you. But look, I think that practically everyone or almost everyone in the room will agree with you. I mean, this is what Ivica was mentioning, this is what Bejet was mentioning, commenting on the visas, etc. Let's be fair and stick to the rules of the games. But look, you mentioned a lot about capacity, being European. All of these become even much more difficult when it comes to Bosnia and Herzegovina. All of these issues. I mean, therefore, Igor, I'd like to invite you, though last in this panel at this point in time. But you've done a very good job as a foreign minister. You're also presiding the Southeast European cooperation process as I was optimistic while living in the RCC that we are going to have some of the issues resolved. The name has been resolved during your presidency, so to say. I have high expectations now for Kosovars who are going to take it over, who have taken it over now in July. But come back to Bosnia and Herzegovina. What more the region could do? I've deliberately mentioned this regional solidarity. And I'd say that everyone in the region looks towards you guys and is ready to support. But still, perhaps we need to have more engaged partners around us. Please, the floor is...
Thank you. First of all, I would like to greet everybody and our hosts here in Slovenia. It's always nice, really, to be here, especially because this panel every year brings some new ideas, and it brings some sparkling ideas that remain there for some time. So I'm sure it's also be something coming out of this panel as well. Matt, I want to also congratulate you. And I'm sure you'll do a good job. I know that Matt read some authors from the region, so he knows one of my favorite quotes about Bosnia by Ivo Andrić, where he said, "Where Bosnia begins, logic stops." And I know that he is very well aware of this and of the other particular things around our region, so I'm sure he'll succeed, I hope, together with us. I think that Melinda and Nicola made a great introduction to what I was meaning to say. So basically, 2 points on where should this all go with Western Balkans and Europe, and just a couple of points from Bosnia and Herzegovina because we have this one big topic everybody's talking about. So I would feel really not fair to you not even mentioning it today. I think it's basic that we get an answer to a question: does European Union really understand what Melinda was greatly put greatly in front of you, that this process needs to be completed. It can only be completed and finished once we are there, because it's so natural, so normal. And we
Igor, maybe the process is going to be completed in different ways than what we are used to. Maybe it is going to be different.
Exactly where I'm getting at, Goran. Exactly where I'm getting at. So let's hypothetically ask ourselves, if all of us represented here from Western Balkans would meet all the criteria, all requests in 5 years' time, would we all be members of the EU in 24? I'm not sure. Why I'm saying this? Because I think it's high time now that we understand that we are really at some kind of a crossroad, some kind of turning point. And I truly believe that now European Union needs to have guts to insist strongly on all of us moving further, faster. I will not mention other, it would not be fair, countries here. But for example, I'll use Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are the only country without one single case of high-level corruption prosecuted. Nobody cares in the EU. Nobody even mentions it. Maybe it's in some document, maybe not, but it's not a big topic.
Because there is no corruption or there are no cases?
You know what I mean. So another example that's very much present is for example, last elections. Look at it's a horror movie. It's a horror book. The OSCE report on the elections in Bosnia. People are losing trust in the institutions, losing trust in justice at all being able to come to us. So where I'm getting at, let's get more insisting on values, on standards, on criteria, on bringing Europe to us. Parallelly, I think we should have a readiness by EU, readiness to really have all of us as part of EU much quicker than at this moment we see in some predictions and in some materials. Is it possible? I'm not sure. But I think this is the final moment to get the answer to this question. Because let's be honest. Can we do all this by ourselves in a short time? No. Will be much better in 5 years? No. So if nothing changes, so let's go very concretely with strict rules, strict standards, bringing us closer to our institutions and to our societies, insisting on this, and then valuing through this what happens next. I think this can happen if the idea that we hear by some countries, and I'm glad Peter is here because he presents this from meeting to meeting very precisely, that we get also the other countries from EU on this track. So if they really want European forces in our countries to prevail, there is no much time. I don't know why should we wait for 15 or 20 years for this region to become the members of EU.
Igor, I have a question not only for you, but for others, ministers around this table from the Balkans. You have heard us, there is a strong voice, a plea towards the EU. We want more. Stick to the promises, deliver on this and that. But what, if I may play a devil advocate, what are we ready to deliver? What are we ready to table? To fight corruption, can we say, yes, we're going to resolve the case that has just started in Northern Macedonia? Are we ready to promise that there is going to be a compromise on the new Council of Ministers? Are we ready, both Ivica and Bežet who left, are we ready to say that we are ready to go for a compromise solution on the very difficult issue? So are we ready to put this in front of those who we are talking to?
I'm exactly what I'm speaking about. I think this is what needs to be done. When you ask, are we ready? I think that we have in all of our countries many people who declare themselves Europeans, and deep inside they don't think like that. They think, well, look, when I look all this rule of law, all these standards, maybe it's better than we enter EU when I'm retired. You know, we have many of them. Even if, or I'll tell you, we have them in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So it's not. It's exactly where I'm getting at. We need to push to these who really want to deliver, who really want these things to happen. But we also need help to get us prepared, to be prepared as a future full member. It cannot be done unless we have a push from both sides. You mentioned the forming of the government or the Council of Ministers in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is, I'll try to stick to the facts because I don't want to be misusing my position. It's rather party politics. The facts are like this. We have 10 months of negotiating. Only 3 parties, SNSD, SDA, and HDZ, only 3 parties are involved. After 10 months, they had an agreement that was little partly initiated and also very visibly supported by EU, made on August 5th. It's a 12-article agreement, and the 12th article is that the agreement will not be valid if it's not implemented by September 5th. It is day after tomorrow. At this moment, things do not look very good, and I'm not sure that is going to be done. I would like to extend again my hope that maybe in the next 48 hours they will do something, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. So at this moment, Bosnia and Herzegovina, I think, is at least as far away from reaching a deal as it was before this August 4. And also, it's very important to note that Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, so the other entity after Republika Srpska, also did not get the government. And I'm stating this because of the fact that when you look at our European reform agenda, about 68% of all the reform activities that need to be implemented are the authority of the entities. So we need to get the governing bodies established on all levels. One thing, I'll finish with this, that is positive from Bosnia. European idea is very alive. People believe that it will bring them something good in the area of security, economy, and rule of law. And no matter how this issue of the new Council of Ministers, new government of Federation will finish, the course of European path will not be changed. So it's important that we get it as soon as possible, because next step, the candidacy status, and further steps cannot be made without it. But the good thing, if we could take anything good out of it, is that European idea is very alive. It's gluing us together like nothing else.
Thank you, Igor. Thank you very much. We need to say goodbye to Minister Peter Sijarto, as we have also said goodbye to Bežet Pecoli. I would like to invite listeners. So please, Peter, we have two. First, I'd like to invite Nina Kodelja and then O'Brien as those who are listening more careful than you guys, and then you will have a floor. Please.
Yes, thank you. I would first like to borrow the words of Minister Dimitrov in saying that the Central European Initiative is very happy to be associated with the 3 Bs, namely the Bled Strategic Forum, the Balkans, and the boldness. So I was listening very carefully, but I wouldn't like to repeat all the words that you were saying. I would maybe just go through 3 points, and one is shared responsibility. I think this is the shortest answer to what this roundtable was about. And to start with the shared responsibility by the European Union. We all know, and we heard from you, ministers, what is the state of fact, which is the difficult international situation, which is all the challenges the EU has to be facing, and is facing, and it's really busy, keeping the EU busy. And there is also the issue that the enlargement seems to be hostage of this way of thinking, namely that the EU must first or either deepen or reform in order to be able to enlarge again. But there is a new momentum, and the new momentum is the new institutions. We're in the post-electoral EU period. So there, as we heard from you, there are high expectations from the Commission. And there is an even bigger issue, which is the EU member states, which not everybody seems to be on the same page as they were in 2004 with the Big Bang enlargement, where there seemed to be a kind of shared understanding and feeling that the EU has to, and is only completed with Western Balkans, as was said around the table. So this is one part of the story. The other part of the story is, of course, the region, which has to do its job, but not only because of the enlargement process, but it has to do its job because of its citizens, of its businesses, and of its societies, because notwithstanding the EU enlargement, or without the EU enlargement, what counts is how people live in your countries. So this is it. And maybe just the third point, and I will stop here, is basically that, of course, a lot of attention is given to the accession process, such as the technical process. So it's the benchmarks, it's the reforma that has to be undertaken, and they're, of course, extremely important because it brings changes in the political system, in the administration, as Slovenia went through, or the other countries that the enlargement touched upon in the past. But of course, the integration process is larger than this. It's basically aligning the policies, the standards, the core values, and here is the role of regional cooperation. Not only, which is of course extremely important, the regional cooperation in the region itself, but the regional cooperation in the sense of knowledge exchange, of sharing of experience, and of capacity building. So thank you very much, and I'm really glad to have been part of this very lively and sometimes a bit pessimistic discussion.
Well, Nina, thank you very much, but not only to you personally, but also to the Central European Initiative for providing for this panel. Thanks a lot. John O'Brien, Irish, let us hear from those who are in for some time, please, and who've been through the catharsis as well. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Goran, and to all the participants. I agree with Peter, who has just left, and with Nicola, that the European Union enlargement process is going nowhere. I describe it in my work as flatlining along a trajectory of frozen negotiation chapters, or, as Serdan has reminded us of, chapters that remain unopened. And in this regard, the Sofia summit meeting last year, and let's acknowledge the Bulgarian presidency did a lot of work trying to make it a success. It was a disaster. And it was a disaster primarily because a subset of member states decided that we could not proceed. And what we're seeing here, bizarrely, I think, is a process that is supposed to deal with and ameliorate the worst impact and edges of nationalism has been subject on the EU side to a renationalization. That is, that power has been sort of wrested away from the European Commission and the community method of decision-making that has worked so well for so long, so that now member states are able to intervene at earlier and earlier points and to keep countries like North Macedonia essentially in limbo year after year after year. That has to change, in my view. And there's no evidence, actually, that it is going to change. A second point is about the main objection that is made. Monsieur Macron and others in France continually talk now about the absorption capacity of the European Union as being the main obstacle, that the institutional functioning, if you like, of the Union is threatened by the potential addition of 6 or 7 member states. All of the academic research that has been done over the last 10 years refutes that claim. If you look at the 2004 entrants, 07 and 13, not only did those accessions not impair the functioning of the EU, in some respects it actually improved it. And if you look at the record of transposition and implementation of the newer member states, in some areas it's actually better than states like my own. So the idea that the problem in the European Union is the institutions being potentially unable to deal with the accession of new states, in my view, is entirely erroneous and maybe even false. And finally, as an Irish citizen who has benefited...
Now. Keep it for next question, please. Just take a note, Matt. Question, sir?
My name is Dr. Neven Cvetićan in Forum for Strategic Studies from Belgrade, from Institute of Social Sciences. This is one question from the scientists. I'm not politicians, and this is question for Mrs. Bregu and for Goran. Do you have impression that Brexit take away interest for enlargement? Because our impression in science is that Brexit take to energy of European Union, and that European Union at the moment take their own business, not our business, and then after Brexit, especially maybe if it will be hard Brexit, it will be even less chance. I don't want to say that there will be no chance for enlargement at all, but how you think and look at this relation between Brexit and enlargement of the EU?
Thank you. How does Brexit influence the completion of the accession process? Momcilo, head of the European Movement Montenegro, please.
Thank you very much. Momcilo Radlović, European Movement Montenegro. Last year I was on the other side, making people laugh and cry and thinking seriously about this. And you know, today I feel like in a movie called Groundhog Day. You know, every day repeats. So here it seems that every year repeats. And every year we are talking the same stories. I wouldn't believe my wildest dreams, because I was using some arguments as Srđan and Nikola regarding, for example, Macedonia or Montenegro. And those arguments are still in place, but I was not thinking in my wildest dreams that Macedonia will not, North Macedonia will, no. North Macedonia, I have to get used to that.
Just ask a question, please.
Will not open negotiations. So now, let's talk about hopes. What do you hope for from the next Commission, from Melinda to even Mr. Palmer? So all the 2 sentences from all participants.
Thank you very much. Very fair question, and this will bring us to a closure. So are we going to start with Melinda?
Well, I hope that European membership is not going to be considered a thorny bramble every time that we have a new commission in place. And then definitely, I really hope and wish for the opening of negotiations of both Albania and North Macedonia. In short, Brexit. While we're discussing here on the Balkans who are looking forward to be part of EU, I just got the breaking news that Boris Johnson lost his majority in the UK Parliament. So from now on again, I think that we'll again continue to hear more about Brexit and about the New Deal and about the politics in UK. But, well, I am on the other side, I feel a little bit better because UK role in the region will not be absent. And UK will be most probably very soon by the end of the year be a participant at RCC as well, as France as well is coming back. Well, I'm not going to comment on the reasons or second thoughts, but well, for us it's a good thing to have them in the region.
Thank you. Expectations, Nicola?
3 sentences. You also raised something. You said, are you committed to fighting corruption, including this latest
I was asking.
revelation? So I want to touch upon that. I think EU itself won't make us European. We will have the tools, we will have the expertise, we will have funds. We need to do the job ourselves. And I think putting problems under the rug helps perceptions, but there is no transformation. So wherever dirt comes to light, this is a good thing. And by contrast with all the other tapes, we like listening to tapes back home, especially 15 and 16. This one, before the tape was published, and the whole scandal was in the press, the Prime Minister himself initiated the investigation. And I think what's really important here is no one should be above the law. Who said it? It's not, we shouldn't be in awe when children are afraid of dark. It's a tragedy when adults are afraid of light. So no one should be above the law. It goes towards the government, fine. It goes towards the party, fine. We have a prosecutor who is in detention at the moment. Do we like it? No, it's bitter. But the system reacts. This is what's important. On Brexit, I will only say, because I am a wishful thinker, and this helps me in my job. I'll say what I told a journalist in London a couple of years ago. He said, why do you want to join when we are leaving? I said, you've been there for too long, and you on the inside, you forget how cold it is outside.
Let us try it for another 30 years, and then we can do. Igor,
and the Commission, focus on results, don't miss opportunities for success, face problems, be open and bold, like the forum in Bled.
Igor, expectations from the Commission.
Okay, well, the Commission was the question, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I think more or less we have similar expectations on this. We want to see the breakthrough in next years, and I think in a few words, Nicola, you put it together. But from Bosnia and Herzegovina, I would like more support to get us ready for EU. One example, maybe it's very helpful that Nicola is here because it's an example how things can be done. Public service broadcasters. Macedonia, at that time, Fyrom. How was that at that time? Now, North Macedonia, it doesn't matter. It was Macedonia, anyway, had problems with having fair and equal access to public broadcasters by everybody. They did not resolve it themselves. They had a big help from EU. They had a special body that was formed from all parties in parliament that led the public service broadcasters during the election and during the campaign, and they made it possible to work. We appeal for this, even though we had much more drastic and radical problems than they have it there. We have public service broadcasters kidnapped by individual parties and politicians, and we get no help at all on this. Just one example how things can be done if there is a will. And just final sentence, I was really sorry to hear this comment and a little bit of criticism to all of us by a young lady from Kosovo, because I think all the jokes that you could hear from us today here were just small part among a big number of substantial things that were said. And let's deal with issues with smiles on our faces, being optimistic and not getting dark faces and too serious.
Well, Ivica always helps about that. Therefore, Ivica, thank you.
Šta je pitanje? Šta očekujemo od Evropske komisije?
So the question is, what do we expect from the European Commission, right?
Očekujem da nas ne lažu više.
We expect not to be lied to anymore.
I lepo da nam kažu. Nema ulaska u Evropsku uniju.
We expect them then to tell us there's no European Union.
Mi ne možemo, slušajte, vi sad ovde svi ovde pričate...
This has to be translated correctly. Please, daj malo vremena, nije prevela.
Okay. A to ja govorim za ove što razumeju naš jezik. Ovi što ne razumeju nije važno. To nije ništa bitno za njih.
So Ivica has said, either tell us there is no more accession, or therefore be fair, or tell us there will be accession and under what conditions. So, if I may paraphrase.
Zašto to kažem?
Why am I saying that?
Zato što u oktobru će biti Evropski savet ili ne znam koji organ.
Because in October we are going to have a European Council.
Gde će Francuska tražiti verovatno da se upiše u odluke saveta da neće biti proširenja dok se ne izvrši reforma Evropske unije.
In which France will probably ask that no enlargement take place until the reform of the European Union is completed.
Evo ja vas sad pitam otvoreno.
And I'll ask you openly now.
Šta to nama Evropska unija možda ponudi sada?
What is it that the European Union can possibly offer to us now?
Na primjer,
for example,
Severna Makedonija i Grčka su postigli dogovor.
Northern Macedonia and Greece have achieved an agreement.
Šta će oni da dobiju?
What are they going to get out of it?
Oni trenutno su dobili zajedničko predsjedavanje berlinskim procesom sa Bugarskom.
Yeah, what they got is joint chairmanship of the Berlin process along with Bulgaria.
Čestitam vam na tome, to je veliki rezultat.
And this is something that I really congratulate you on. This is a great achievement.
Evo šta će biti ukoliko Beograd i Priština postignu kompromis?
What will happen if Belgrade and Pristina reach an agreement?
Šta ćemo da dobijemo?
What will we get in return?
Ja ne znam da li razumete da je priča o Evropskoj uniji postala bajka. To je daleka budućnost.
The story of the European Union is some sort of a fable. That this is what it boils down now. This is like a very distant future.
Nama je potrebna bliska budućnost.
What we need is a close future, something that's going to happen soon.
Ovde je problem i u tome što se Evropska unija samo bavi nama.
The problem is that the European Union is only dealing with us.
Evo, samo izbacite ovo Western Balkans.
If you take out the words Western Balkans, for example,
ja mislim da bi ova tema mogla bude adekvatna i za samu Evropsku uniju.
I think that the topic in itself would also be, could become a topic for the European Union as well.
Šta danas u Evropskoj uniji znači ideje europeizacije?
What the idea of Europeisation means in the European Union?
Šta znači demokratizacija?
What does democratization stand
Šta
for?
znači podela odgovornosti?
Or a shared responsibility for that
I jesu li
matter?
zemlje članice Evropske unije ideali demokratije i evropskih vrednosti?
Are the countries that now belong in the European Union the champions of democracy and shared responsibilities?
Verujem da odgovor svi znate, samo nećete da kažete.
I believe that you are all aware of the answer, but you are reluctant to say it.
Danas je pitanje izvesnosti opstanka Evropske unije na najnižem nivou.
Today is the issue of the survival of the European Union at the lowest level.
A to se vama sada možda čini nemogućim.
Perhaps it seems to you to be something impossible to take
Ali svaka
place.
evropska ideja je u prošlosti završavala nekim velikim ratom.
But each great European idea in the past ended in a great war.
Uključujući i društvo naroda pre Drugog svjetskog rata.
Including the League of the Nations before the Second World War.
Znači, mi danas imamo otvorene izjave vodećih zemalja članica Evropske unije da nema govora o proširenju.
Today we are faced with very open statements by the leading European Union countries that there is not going to be any enlargement.
Imamo otvorene izjave vodećih zemalja Evropske unije.
They openly say, those leading countries of the European Union,
između ostalog u Beogradu su rekli to.
Including these statements were
da Evropska unija mora da
Belgrade.
se odupre Rusiji, Kini i Sjedinjenim Američkim Državama.
Because the European Union, the Belgrade, needs to resist to Russia and the United States of America.
And China.
And China.
Palmer, mi smo na vašoj strani, Sikiresi.
Palmer, don't you worry, we are on your side.
U svakom slučaju,
In any case now,
mi treba da imamo čiste odnose i račune.
we have to have very clear, relations very clearly defined.
To šta će da bude za 30 godina,
What's going to take place in 30 years from now?
znate, to je kao kad biste vi vašoj deci obećavali, i tu im stalno i obećamo, kad porasteš dobit ćeš to i to.
It is the same like we, for example, tell our children once you grow up, you will get this or that, and perhaps this is something that we do all the time anyway.
Nama na Zapadnom Balkanu ne može to više da se priča, mi smo porasli.
So this story is no longer valid to us
Ne
in
da
the Western
smo
Balkans.
porasli, nego će uskoro i da odumremo.
We have become
Čekajući na Evropsku uniju.
we have become adults in the meantime, and not only we have
Ovaj koji je u Turskoj započeo pregovore, mislim da je umro.
the people that started negotiations for the Turkish European Union membership is already dead.
Ja sam u Srbiji započeo, ja sam još živ, nadam se da ću doživjeti to.
In Serbia, I started these negotiations, and luckily I'm still alive.
I odoh da me ne bi uvatio grom opet ovaj.
And I need to go now to avoid any new thunder and
Thank you,
lightning.
Ivica. Srđa, I hope you are more Europhile than Ivica.
Yes, I keep my hope.
But I know positively that you are no less pro-US at the same time.
Of course, we are members of NATO. So, very shortly, almost everything has been said by my predecessors, by speakers before me. I expect from the new Commission, if it is serious about the enlargement, to treat enlargement as it should be, as a two-way street and two-way business. To be tough on us, because we need to deliver. In a rule of law, in media freedom, in combating organized crime, in strengthening our institutions, in one word, making our societies better. But on the other side, not to follow, on the EU side, not to follow statements of their leaders, that on the EU Commission side, that enlargement is not going to come to the agenda as long as we don't resolve our internal issues. It's not two-way street, two-way business. If it stays the approach, it won't go well for us, but also for the EU. EU needs to complete the job, as Mylinda said, and to embrace Western Balkans. Not in 2045, but until 2025 or soon, as it was said in the document of the EU Commission, the Strategy of Enlargement issued in February 2018. So both sides should treat this business seriously. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sergio. Matt, what do you expect from your partners in Brussels and in the capitals?
Thanks very much, Goran. Let me first of all thank Ivica for giving me the opportunity to think very carefully about my answer. Let me, if I may, begin by addressing the question that was raised about how the United States can engage effectively and constructively in the Serbia-Kosovo dialogue. I think there's two quick parts to that. The first is getting the parties back to the table. That means for the United States making clear that we expect that the next government in Kosovo will be a strong partner for us. That means being pro-dialogue. It means suspending the tariffs, getting back to the negotiating table, and working with seriousness of purpose towards an agreement. It also means persuading Ivica and President Vučić that the de-recognitions campaign targeting Kosovo is fundamentally counterproductive, that it poisons the well in the negotiations and risks on Serbia's part scoring a series of tactical victories and a strategic defeat, which is not fundamentally in the interests of Serbia, not in the interests of peace, stability, and security in the region. Once the parties get back to the negotiating table, the question there is, what are they going to talk about? And here I think the United States can play an absolutely critical role in helping the parties stay committed to this process, work towards compromise, identify the points of agreement, the points of disagreement, and keep people focused on the prize. And the prize is normalizing the relationship between Belgrade and Pristina and opening up a path forward to Europe for both countries. In terms of our expectations for our European partners, I think the thing that I would emphasize most immediately is the importance of ensuring that the transition from High Representative from Mogherini to Borrell proceeds smoothly and quickly. There is not time for the EU to spend 6 months talking about how it wishes to organize itself on Balkans issues. There may be a window of opportunity on Serbia-Kosovo opening up between the formation of the government in Kosovo and the elections in Serbia in the spring. We collectively, all of us, the United States, the European Union, and the parties themselves need to be ready to seize that opportunity. I share Nicola's sense of urgency about Balkans issues. There is no time to waste.
Thank you very much. Let me close the panel. I would like to say the following. My takeout. We are ready for compromises. In spite of all said, my personal take is that there is a readiness when it comes to compromises needed, following the path already presented by Athens and Skopje. Second, we need more Europe in the Balkans, but Europe with a transformative power, not a facade. And third, I'm grateful for co-panelists as they have expressed regional solidarity. Therefore, they are Europeanizing, at least on some points. Therefore, thank you very much. I'd like to invite the State Secretary of the Slovenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Simona Leskovar, to close the forum. Simona, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Goran. And I know that we are running out of time, so I'll be short and brief. Bled Strategic Forum is traditionally, at the end of the 2 days discussions, hosting a forum on Western Balkans. And it's always with the top ministerial attendance. Also this year, debates are ongoing, and with years, more pressing and pertinent issues are discussed. I'm not here to give you any suggestion for a solution, but I will offer you a piece of advice, if I may. And I'm very glad to see at least one female, Melinda, on the panel. So think about gender equality. Think about gender equality also in this field, and maybe solution might arrive earlier than you would expect, because Nicola said the time is running out, and I'm sure that Minister Dacic and Mr. Palmer can then enjoy their time off somewhere out of their offices. But ladies and gentlemen, excellencies,
I'm here to say a few words about the organizers and those that preparing this successful conference for the 14th time in a row. It requires a lot of hard work, and I want to express my sincere appreciation for the indispensable contribution to all who made this possible. First and foremost, the Bled Strategic Forum team with the Secretary General of the Bled Strategic Forum, Peter Grk. All the liaison officers and volunteers who were helping us, and you, that you felt comfortable here. Of course, all of you panelists and moderators that made these 2 days extremely interesting. Allow me also to thank colleagues at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who prepared tirelessly all the papers for the minister and state secretaries and others, that meetings, bilaterals, were successful and productive. And of course, nothing would be possible if we wouldn't have such a great partners of the forum. So also thanks to our partners and sponsors. Once again, we try to offer discussions, panels, and networking events that would ignite in you a passion, that you would go out there and make a difference and give contribution in trying to solve many outstanding challenges and issues that we are facing in this globalized and multifaceted world. This year's Fil Rouge was a sustainable development as the only rational choice for the future, in which we would preserve our achievements, standards, norms, and values. We are increasingly being held accountable by the young, and we need to step up to our responsibility for the future and well-being of our children. Bled Strategic Forum 2019 tried to contribute to this wake-up call for humanity. Throughout our discussions, we looked into the resources, instruments, mechanisms, and methods at our disposal to make sustainable development a reality. We share our planet, our only planet, and will succeed or fail together. We must seek comprehensive solutions which will address also the need of the most vulnerable groups. If we want to be sustainable, inclusive, resilient, and democratic global society, we must ensure that no one is left behind. Here, I would also like to say one last thing to you and invite you to join us next year. So please pencil down 31st of August and 1st of September 2020, when I hope that all of you will join us again at the 15th anniversary of Bled Strategic Forum. I wish you a pleasant day in this fairy tale setting, and safe travels back home, and see you next year in 2020 here.